This story happened quite a bit ago in one of my college years. For context of where you think this is going, I wasn't very attractive as I looked 12 years old, and was an all-around goof for people that knew me, so I just didn't really care of how people perceived me socially or romantically, since that part of me died. Anyway, with that in mind, one day I go to a Noodles and Company in the city near my university. I go once a week and everything is normal. However, this time there is a decently attractive middle-aged woman who is staring at me like she's giddy. I used to get this quite a bit from people who make fun or laugh at me, but I thought, whatever. I look at her for a second and widen my eyes like a visual expression of, and go back to eating my pasta. But she's insistent on looking at me with a smile. So I say hello and she introduces herself to me. Usually I'm bad with talking to people who I don't know, but it actually goes very naturally. She's even flirting and giving signals that someone with peanut butter brain like me can understand. I'm flattered and reciprocate a little, but eventually she invites me to her place pretty far away for a fun time. She gives me a number, and I can't even drive, but I say what the hell and decide to do it for adventure. It's a surreal thing that I'm compelled to even see what happens. So I arrive at her place via Uber, and listen, I'm not expecting sex or anything like that because it's me, and it's probably not the best idea. I'm also gambling on a pretty hefty risk of getting robbed or killed, but whatever. I come in at her place and soon we sit down on the couch together and watch a movie that I'd never heard of before. She kind of curls up to put her head on my side and I put my arm around her. It's the normal thing to do, I guess. 10 minutes into that, she starts to cry intensely and sobs that she's sorry. I ask what's wrong. It turns out that I apparently looked and sounded incredibly similar to her teenage son who got murdered a few years back. She probably wanted to bond with her lost son again. I held her against my chest as she cried heavily for 45 minutes. After a little bit, I left pretty shaken up and I said that if she needed anything to call, text me at any time. I never heard from her again. I recently texted her with much caution because I didn't want to remind her of what happened, to see how she's doing. No response. You know, I'm an emotionless bastard, but that haunted me. I sometimes hear the sound of her crying in my head when I'm trying to sleep. If you have a loving parent or family member, you just never know when they'll be gone forever. I'm a 41-year-old man, and I've got no more fight left. 5 years ago, life was actually perfect. I was celebrating my 15-year anniversary with my high school sweetheart. We finally bought our first house. We had our first new vehicle and our kids and dogs were happy. I had a great job. She had just received her master's degree and life was the best it had ever been. We fought hard for years to get it there. Then one day, I was taking my daughter to her boyfriend's house and we were suddenly swarmed by police officers. With no explanation, they dragged my daughter out of the car and they violently arrested me. They refused to tell me why I was being arrested and only said someone would be speaking to me. I was never in any kind of trouble before or since in my life. In fact, I was in the army. I was an undergrad in school and I even used to be a corrections officer. After sitting in an empty room for 6 hours, a police officer from upstate arrived to interview me. Nothing made sense. I was being charged with second-degree kidnapping in a completely different state. I said I never kidnapped anybody, and he informed me that's not what second degree is. He then explained what second degree is too, but it still didn't add up. I was soon extradited to upstate and spent nearly 3 years sitting in jail for something that never happened. They did DNA tests, fingerprints, polygraph, took my phone and anything they could find. Their 3-year-long investigation finally determined that I had in fact not committed a crime. The case was dropped and I was released. Of course, during this time, my wife had met someone else and left me. It destroyed me even further. When I was released, I had no phone, no money, and no way home. I was homeless for 3 months before I was able to work and save enough money to get a phone and contact my friends and family to get home. When I got home, I had nowhere to go, so I stayed with my father. I went to work on January 5th, and when I came home, I found that he had died unexpectedly of a massive heart attack while I was at work. Emotionally, I'll never get that image out of my head. Within days, the homeowner informed me that he was selling the house, and I had to leave by February 1st. Due to the final expenses and all the costs involved, I had only enough money to secure a place to stay. I'm renting a room from an older woman who knows I always work and make good money. The problem is I'm still playing catch up. If this had been any other month, there wouldn't be a problem. But February only has 28 days, and she wants full payment on the 1st, or I have to leave. She doesn't care that I get paid 3 days later, and I even offered to pay a late fee. She said full rent, or you have to go. It's late Friday night, early Saturday morning, I think. I've exhausted all options. I can't get a loan, my family and friends live paycheck to paycheck and can't help me. So come Monday, I either need to magically come up with $500 or be homeless again. I have a $900 paycheck coming in 3 fucking days. 3 days too late. I'm tired. I'm broken. I don't have any fight left in me. The 9th of February is my sister's birthday. Her name was Ariole. She would have been turning 32. We lost her on February 20th, 2015. She had just turned 26. The night I found out, I was in Hawaii on Liberty. We were emailing each other and she was planning to pick me up when the ship pulled back into the States. Then we would drive up to Sacramento together. Ariole was an amazing person, truly. Although she had an unfair life. My dad didn't even know about her until she was 1.5. CPS showed up with Ariole to his door because she was taken away from her crackhead POS mum. Her mum left her in a closet. Apparently her neighbor at the trailer park heard a baby crying all day long. She had constant health issues. Her mum did crack when she was pregnant with her. My dad was abusive towards her. It's complicated, but my entire family was shitty towards her. I was too. I was a total brat. I would get her in trouble on purpose. I was the youngest of 7 and was still kind of a people pleaser. She moved out when she was 16 after fist fighting my dad. I couldn't wait to go on a road trip back to Sacramento with her. We were going to bond. I got a text message around 3 AM from one of her friends. She had been hit by a car. I remember thinking it wasn't a big deal. She would be alright. In hindsight, I was in shock. I ended up mouthing off to a hire the next day and getting sent to the chaplain. This guy was a total idiot. Made me figure out how to send a Red Cross message on Google. Anyways, I was put on emergency leave. I flew out that night to Sacramento. Although the turbulence was intense, I slept throughout the entire 8-hour flight. I guess I was exhausted. The week that followed was a blur. I remember sleeping a lot, and I remember seeing my sister in the hospital. Her head was swollen. It seemed like there were a million wires running through her. I asked for a private moment with her and tried to apologize through the weeping attacks. I guess that's how experiencing a seizure would feel like. I apologized for how shitty her life was, how horrible my family was to her, even how horrible I was to her. I also told her that although it's selfish of me to want her here, it was okay if she wanted to go. She wouldn't be happy if she stayed. Her brain was permanently damaged. When the doctors said she would wake up, they meant wiggle her toe. She wouldn't be the same. She was pronounced dead at 6 AM the next morning. 200 people came to see the celebration of her life. She was actually a health coach, and she had touched so many people's lives for the better. She always tried to mother me, always tried to take care of me, and I was a brat to her. She even paid my phone bill in high school so I'd have a cell phone. When rummaging through her stuff, I came across her diary. In it, she wrote something along the lines of, "I want to be successful. I wish I had the money to pay for my little sister's college instead of her going to the military to pay for it." She basically blamed herself. That thought never occurred to me. I turned 26 on March 2nd. I'm about to transfer to a 4-year college in the fall, and I know Ariole would be really proud of me. It's been 6 years since she's been gone. This time of the year is never easy for me, and this year especially since I was the same age that she was when she passed. But her energy shows up every year for her birthday, in some form, always through nature. One year I drove out to a canyon and poured a little beer in her honor, and the wind flew it back up right into my face. One year I saw the green flash on her birthday. The green flash is a brief moment that occurs when you're out at sea. It has to be a day with zero pollution. A bright green flash appears right when the sun sets. It only lasts for about 2 to 3 seconds. Some say that the green flash is the other side saying hello to living. I'd like to think that. I'd like to think she's saying hello.